I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to the regular meeting of the Abington School Committee for Tuesday, March 27th, 2018. We're at the Abington Middle High School Library, and a meeting at 7 o'clock. We're going to start off with a salute to the flag led by some very special guests from Woodsdale School. Could everyone stand for the salute to the flag, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we start off with our hearing of visitors. Is there anyone here that would like to, has anything they'd like to say? All right, if not, I'll move on to kids.
Sure.
All right, we're going to come back to our reading and approval of records, and I'm going to turn the meeting over right now to Jonathan Hawes, the Woodsdale School Principal, and our three special guests.
So the purpose of our visit here tonight is for the Woodsdale Student Spotlight. I think this is going to be a little bit unorthodox of a student spotlight. I know typically students have come to the school committee meetings to showcase the work that they've done individually. However, I felt it was really important for us to showcase the work that our entire school has done this year. And it really, truly is work that's led by the students. Last spring, when I was getting ready to take over the Woodsdale School as part of our school improvement plan, we talked about the implementation of morning meeting. I felt that it was important for us to have sort of a baseline for some social emotional skills and honestly just a really great way to start the day. And so every single classroom has been working with morning meeting throughout the school year this year. It's been a total grassroots effort. I'm really proud of my staff and of our students. We haven't had any formal training in it. We took it upon ourselves to say, this is something we want to do. Our PTO was gracious enough to purchase the morning meeting sort of handbooks for all of our staff members. We took it home over the summertime, and through some collaboration across the grade levels and with our kids, we've gotten it up and running this year. And it's really honestly has been a fantastic addition to our school culture and our school climate. So what is morning meeting? Morning meeting is a 10 to 15 minute meeting. Every classroom opens up their doors after we say the Pledge of Allegiance and have our morning announcements. The kids assemble on the rug. It's an opportunity to set the tone for the day, interact with one another, and also a focus on not only just social emotional learning, but as you'll see in a video that I've got, it's a way for us to tie in some academics to a small sort of meeting for the day as well. Ultimately, there's 4 components to morning meeting. There's a greeting, there's a morning message, there's some sharing, and there's a group activity. Based upon what you've got for time in the morning, you can choose to roll out all 4 components, but I know most of it, the core, are the greeting, the morning message, and the share. So I've got a short video clip that will outline a little bit of a morning message. So the morning message, we started out setting what that morning message would be school-wide, and then it's sort of taken off on its own. The morning message can be everything from navigating difficult friend relations to the difference between friend and friendly, or what does achievement look like. You'll hear a little bit of morning message. You'll see some group activities, and you'll also see a way for us to tie core academic content into a small meeting to give kids a little preview before they jump into it at language arts maybe 90 minutes or 2 hours later.
So I want you to pick. That can be in school. It can be in this classroom, my friends. It can be at recess. It could be at lunch. It can also be at home. So I want you to think, where is a time where either you have been kind recently or someone has been kind to you? It could be an example at school or at home. When you have that example of either you being kind or someone being kind to you that you could share, you're going to tap your hands up. We're all going to go around and share an example of you being kind or someone being kind to you. Which way are we going to go? We're going to say that. Okay.
My two friends at recess, Ryan Harrison and Coach Bull, they play with me every day.
What is one way that you can show kindness to someone else next week? So you can keep the same idea you had, or you can think of a new idea. So one kind thing that you can put yourself to do next week. You are going to turn to the person next to you. So I'm with AJ right now. It's the last day, right? So we're on our bottom still. Our hands are ready. Because 1, 2, 3. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. It's the last day. Jackson, it's on you. So what you gonna do? Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. It's the last day. Olivia, it's on you. So what you gonna do? She's going to the trampoline park. Trampoline park. Trampoline park. She's going to the trampoline park. But it's Friday. One more. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. It's the last day. Shane, it's on you. So what you gonna do?
Historical fiction, if you can't see me, can you move your body so that you can? Historical fiction is really, Bradley Davis kind of hit the nail on the head. That's one of our images we've been talking about. Make sure you really got it right. It makes it a part of history. So it takes an event from history, like the Ice of Ice Boys might use the sinking of the Titanic. A real event. And then it puts in fictional characters to help you to understand that event. How do we know this is not just like a story? Like, how do we know the fiction part of it? So we know the historical part. How do we know the fiction part of it? David. Very good, excellent. And you, Sally's father, answered a knock at the.
So as you saw, there were students engaging in what does kindness look like and ways to be kind. There were students who were sharing upcoming weekend activities. There were students who were talking about what historical fiction was, and as you can see on the board, it's an activity actually called parking lot activity. But that message is up on the classroom. Students take that message, think about what they want to say, and they put it on that parking lot for us to revisit a little bit later in the morning meeting. And you can also see that the teacher's taking time to connect a skill, build up that student's prior knowledge before they get to language arts. Again, it could be 90 minutes, it could be 2 hours away. So, one more time, why did we choose morning meeting? We could really gauge the impact because you could tell that the students were empowered to nurture a sense of belonging. The students were empowered to really, truly on their own, talk about their own significance and highlight the significance of their peers. It's an emotionally safe spot for them to share the things that are going on in their lives. It helps them create a calm, orderly environment that promotes autonomy and allows all to focus on learning. And notice that those two bullets start with students. The kids are the ones doing the hard work. The kids are the ones relaying their own expectations for peer work, their own expectations for group work. Students are also engaging in teaching the mechanics of something simple like a conversation, how to pause, how to make sure you know that the person you're talking with is finished before you interrupt, and higher order tasks. Again, like how to navigate a conflict with a friend, how do you approach a friend who you know that you trust and don't want to let down, but you also have to let them know that something they did might not feel so good. So we're really working through the mechanics of that. We're working through some fun stuff as you saw that closing circle as well. So again, I was really proud to bring this tonight because every single kid in our school for over 100 days of school has done a fantastic job. But tonight I've got 3 friends with me. Their classroom teachers had recognized that they were leaders in these morning meeting sessions, that they have really truly embodied the characteristics of listening, sharing, making sure that they highlight and champion the work and achievement of others. So we're going to start off. I have Gretchen come on up, all 3 of you. I've got Ashlyn. Ashlyn, can you say hello? I have Olivia, and I have Andrew. So they had an opportunity to sit with me. Again, they were referred by their classroom teachers as really truly taking a leadership role in our morning meetings. We had an opportunity to talk about why the morning meeting was impactful to them, so I'm going to let them tell you. I think we decided Ashlyn was going to go first.
In morning meeting, it's always fun to start with a delightful greeting. We get to learn more about our teammates, and we get to show how we are being polite. We also get to talk about how to be kind.
Okay. Olivia?
In morning meeting in my class, I like the fun greetings. It starts the day in a positive way, and you can make friends with your classmates. Every kid in the class also gets a good morning.
Andrew?
Morning meeting in our class starts out with greeting obviously. In greetings, we have different greetings every time. We have this one that's really nice. In a minute, you have to do every people. You have to say hi to every people. And it's good just to say hi to everyone except for one. And we also have the activity. It also gets your body moving. So usually in our class, if we don't do the activity, usually we're always like down, and we're too chatty. And then now we do these things called go noodles that like get your body going. So then you won't be all chatty and like tired during class.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So before I close out, I want you guys to recognize that each of these three students mentioned the greetings. I think that is something that can't be overstated. Every single kid in our school has someone else say good morning to them. It's a very small thing, and again, could be possibly overlooked. Every single kid sits in a circle, faces one another, and has somebody say good morning to them. I think that's a really important part, and it's really truly what's gotten our school climate and culture up and running. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask about morning meeting?
I don't really have any questions, but I've heard a lot about it. Obviously, it was great to get to actually see in action. I think it's phenomenal. So thank you guys all for coming. Jonathan, thank you for all the work, and that's pretty much all I have.
Awesome.
Guys, you did a wonderful job.
You were the best part of our meeting, probably.
Definitely, definitely the best part of our meeting. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you to all the parents for bringing them. All right, we're moving back into our regular agenda. First of all, I'd like to let people know that Jeanette Leary is not able to be here tonight because of a work commitment, and Wendy was called out on a family emergency. However, we still have 3 members of the committee here, which is enough for quorum, so we can still continue. Let's take a look at our reading and approval of records. The records for the minutes for February 27th, 2018. Does anyone have any comments, questions, changes?
No.
All right, then I'll be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of February 27th, 2018 as presented.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
A second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Go quickly today. We're looking for a motion to approve the executive session minutes for February 27th, 2018 as presented or amended. Anyone have any changes, questions, comments?
No.
No? So could we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Got to remember to do that. All right. We are moving on to Business and Finance Subcommittee.
So, in your packet, you should have an updated increased major category page. And so, you have one page here, but there are a lot of hours behind the scenes that went into this page. I want to thank Chris and Mike, our Budget and Finance Subcommittee members, for their input into this, and I want to thank the people at the Town Hall, the leadership team at the Town Hall, who are continuing to help us, Felicia and I, in the school department with our numbers. As everybody knows, as you get closer to town meeting and further in a fiscal year, your estimates for the following year can get clearer and clearer, and you also get a better estimate on what types of resources will be available to us through the state, federal, and local tax revenues. And so The first sheet that you had in our preliminary budget included a $1.3 million increase, or a 6.2% increase. Now, I'm going to talk primarily about all of our budget other than the question about kindergarten and the free full-day kindergarten. So all of this is really about the other budget items. So this budget that you have in front of you, this major increase page, if you look at the first item, the salary account and our contractual obligations, that number has not changed, that $576,209. But what has changed is a retirement offset for 5 positions we know, retirements that we're going to get. Hiring people in the following year for less money means that we'll save money on each of those positions for an estimated total offset to our budget of $134,600. And that reduces our budget by that amount in terms of our forecast. The next item is new positions. At a previous school committee meeting, we had talked about a point for resource nurse, a English language arts teacher for the high school, a computer technician for the district, and a special education position for the middle school. And we had talked about a technology integrationist. So this number is reduced, this $145,315 number. This provides for the special education teacher for the middle school, for half of the English language arts teacher for the high school, and for the technology integrationist. Again, in order to get from what was a 6.2% increase to our budget, which is not a sustainable number in a budget, we had to make some decisions. And so eliminated from that was the .4 resource nurse, half of the English teacher, and then the computer technician. We still feel that those would be good for us to have, but if we, unlike the state and the federal government, we have to come in with a balanced budget, which means we have to make those decisions. That reduces that salary account to $586,924. That's a reduction of $250,000 from that area. In terms of programs with other districts, special education tuitions, we've reduced that to $91,958. That was $150,000. We've increased the circuit breaker offset to 65%. That would provide an offset of $159,863, bringing this budget category in to $251,821. That reduces that category by $116,000. Other school services, those numbers haven't changed other than the 5-year curriculum plan. We still have money in our budget for that. The money that was there was an increase to it, and that brings that category down to a total of $65,728. That reduces that by that $75,000. So that still means that we're increasing, if these numbers increase the school department budget by 4.13%. That's still beyond what the community has the capacity to fund. And I haven't even talked about kindergarten, because kindergarten is on top of this. So we need to continue to look at this budget, and as state, federal, and local numbers come in, we hope that those numbers come in healthy for Abington. We'll still work to reduce this 4.13% increase in the operational budget. And as a separate category, after our meetings with the town, I continue to remain cautiously optimistic that we will be able to fund free full-day kindergarten for the first time in the Abington Public Schools, which is a big deal. That number is over and above the 4.13%. That would be funded out of one-time cash available in the town, free cash. It really underscores a meaningful commitment to our children in Abington, the Abington Public Schools, and the work that we need to do for our kids here in Abington. So those things aren't definites until we get to town meeting. This is a picture of where we are at this place in time with the budget process. We have a meeting with the Budget and Finance Subcommittee, the town's Budget and Finance Subcommittee, on April 4th. We'll be going through our numbers with them. We'll continue to deliberate with the town, and also we'll have our own Budget and Finance Subcommittee meetings as we approach town meeting. If I can answer any questions. I asked Felicia to go home tonight, by the way, because she sounds awful, and I want her to be, we all want her to be healthy, so. She was part of all of this, and I'm still ready to answer any questions you have.
Does anyone have any questions on the budget?
I have one question. Is the April 4th meeting open to the public?
Absolutely. Yep.
Anyone
Good
else
question.
have a question? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the report of the superintendent of schools. Do you want me to do that?
Sure.
We are a member of the Reads Collaborative, and the board of directors for the Reads Collaborative is made up of superintendents. So what we're looking for tonight is a motion to appoint Peter Schaefer to serve as Abington Public Schools representative on the board of directors for Reads Collaborative in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4E as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012. For the 2018-2019 school year. Does anyone have any questions?
Is this just like renewal?
Yes. All right, is there anyone willing to make a motion to appoint Peter to serve as on the board of directors representing Abington Public Schools?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Peter, you have another job, or a continued job.
Got it. The next piece is requesting consideration for our in-service early release schedule for the remainder of this school year. So, sorry guys. So you have in your packet a memo that requests, we had a snow day. Sorry. No, I'm glad you said that. In my building report, I'm going to tell you how we're trying to get rid of this hum. So that's coming up. So we had a snow day on March 8th. And as a result of that snow day, I want to ask the committee if they would please reschedule the in-service that we had scheduled on March 8th to April 30th so that we can do what's outlined here in this memo. The high school, the middle school, the Woodsdale, the Beaverbrook, and the pre-K, the Abington Early Education Program, have quite a bit of work that really can't be replaced at another time. And then additionally, I have a PowerPoint presentation for you that describes the next request, and that is in detail with a plan for 2 early release days on May 11th and June 11th for ALICE training. So does it make sense that I walk through that PowerPoint and we do it all in one at the end?
Yeah, I think that would work
Okay.
best. Yeah.
Do you mind helping me out, John? Thanks. So there's been quite a bit of talk about the implementation of ALICE, and I thought we should spend a little bit of time just talking about why it takes 2 half days to do this, actually more than that, and describe a little bit more about ALICE. You've probably heard me say a number of times that we have a plan in place right now. It is what 75% of America's public schools are doing. We don't want to be, so this is an improvement on that. We don't want to be in the top 25% of safest schools. We want to be in the top 100% of safest schools. And although 75% of America's schools are still doing the traditional lockdown. The reason to move toward this is because all of the task forces that the governors have had in states where there have been these tragic events, and the associations that our emergency responders belong to recommend that schools and businesses and churches move to this activity to train people how to best provide the best opportunity for them to survive in what is the unthinkable. So, but we still need to plan for it. So, this is the implementation of an enhanced response plan to the threat of a dangerous person or active shooter. Thanks. This ALICE training is proactive. It gives people options for a civilian response to a violent critical incident. So the ALICE program, again, gives people training so they have more choices during one of these terrible events. It uses their action with the surroundings, the room, the hallways, whatever is available to them to help create the best opportunity for survival and communication options. That's what this program provides. It's important to remember, and an important key here is that this is a universal set of skills or training. So just under 50% of active shooter events are actually caused in America's businesses. About just under 25% are in America's schools. And then you can see government properties like, you know, the military bases that have experienced it, open spaces, residences, churches make up the other portion. So just like fire drills, where we all learned what to do and how to help save ourselves in the event of a fire, these skills are seen as universal, not just for schools. And it's why it would be a good thing for us to train America's children in this. Hopefully we can stop these events from happening, and then we can worry about other things. But until that happens, this is a good, I think, training. So as I said, it integrates the physical design with human action. It provides options. It assumes that every single event is not exactly the same. I'm going to talk about what this acronym stands for, but it's not sequential. They're interchangeable. The elements that stand for ALICE, and it is based on research from agencies like the FBI, Homeland Security, have provided the information for these, the background for this. So currently we practice safety drills as a part of our hazardous response plan. Again, we've developed those plans with the police and fire. We've just done those recently. Fire drills, the lockdown drills, the evacuation drills, the shelter-in-place drill, bus evacuation drills. There are other things that we do. And so this is, another way to think of this is an enhanced lockdown / evacuation. But I'll get into more detail in a moment. So ALICE is common sense, but not common knowledge. So in the event that the worst happens, it provides some training for people and some options that they wouldn't just ordinarily think of. And so let me just go through the letters, and then I'll explain those as we go. Alert. That should be done in a plain language so that people know exactly what the threat is, rather than codes. We'll still have codes to indicate what people could do in a certain event, like the shelter in place is a red or green, or but when you're doing the announcements to the building to tell people what they need to be wary of, what the danger is, that should be done in plain language. Lockdown is a good place to start. The prevailing wisdom was if you lock the door and you wait, then the police will come, and if you buy enough time, they'll be there to save you before the worst happens. And that's a good place to start. That's still a good philosophy. But this includes a barricade of the door, which enhances the lockdown and provides additional safety and buys more time. Inform those internal, external communications to keep everyone constantly informed about what's going on, so that you can better, as an individual or as a classroom, make decisions. You're empowered to make decisions differently, whether you're going to stay in a lockdown. There's a stranger in the west hallway, and if you're in the east hallway, you would know not to run into the west hallway. You would know that you can evacuate more safely. If you're in the west hallway, you would know you don't want to evacuate into the hallway. It empowers people in a crisis situation to make those types of decisions. The counter, you're able to, if the worst happens and someone breaches the room and you haven't evacuated, you can swarm, distract, throw objects, run, evacuate, and leave the area rather than sit prone in an area and wait to tragic consequence. And so each of those letters stands for a different thing in the plan. And so if you have this information, you can make these decisions. You would see how you might not necessarily lock down. You might evacuate. They're all interchangeable. It's not a sequential piece. So why does this implementation take this amount of time? Because we want to do it right. And before the end of the school year, what we're currently working on right now is revising our operational plan with our emergency responders. So the people that are coming to save us need to know exactly what we're doing. We need to drill it with them. They need to know when they're responding to us what and how we're going to react in different circumstances, that we're not going to be sitting in a lockdown position. There could potentially be more movement. We need to tell our people that when they're leaving, simple things like you don't want to be running with your cell phone in your hand or reach for your cell phone, because when you've got an anxious emergency responder, we don't want to create more of a stressful situation for them. You want them to move past us evacuating and go to the threat. So we're revising those operational plans with our emergency responders as I speak. We're going to train our entire staff, and we're going to practice with our staff. We're going to do a parents' evening where we go into more detail even than we're going into tonight. And then we want to spend part of a school day, as much time as we need during this school year with our students, training our students. Now that training is going to be very different depending on the age level of our students. As you can imagine, when I talked about counter, the ability of a high school classroom to counter and grab staplers and books and distract and throw items or barricade a door is going to be very different than at the elementary model or in the elementary classrooms. And the way it's presented is very different to elementary students. The ALICE program uses a story currently that is about the big bad wolf. And similar to the big bad wolf, the three little pigs, protecting themselves from the big bad wolf. Unfortunately, what I've heard from my colleagues is that often our elementary students know exactly what we're talking about, and inadvertently somebody raises their hand and says, we're really not talking about a big bad wolf here, we're talking about somebody with a gun. Because 24/7 you can turn on the television and we all know what's there. So this is a blended model. It requires an online learning component. We have signed up for licensure for all of that, for all of our staff. When I mean all of our staff, I mean everybody. People will go through that online learning piece. Then there are PowerPoints that will be led by our building principals and our school resource people or police officers who have been trained in the Abington Police Department. We'll go through these PowerPoints and videos with our staff. Then we will do drills and scenarios with our staff on these half days. So each drill and scenario can take 45 minutes to an hour because there has to be a safety plan involved where we're throwing items and barricading doors, and we're have a simulation of a gun, and then that requires time to do that thoughtfully. We're probably going to run at least 2 or 3 drills with our staff in these types of exercises, and then they will be debriefing after that, and that takes time to debrief with people after they go through this experience, because you want to process all of this information. And the reason we want to be so thoughtful and methodical about this is because then we're going to need to train our students in our classrooms about these types of things. And that needs to be very thoughtful and deliberate. Thank you. So this is something that we were going to do next year. We were training staff this year to be ready for this for the following year, and obviously the events that have occurred have created more of a sense of urgency than we had pre-Parkland, post-Parkland. This is something we want to do this year. And so in order to do that, we need to ask you for these days. So one of the half days would be for that e-learning piece, people working at the computers, going through the training modules, the staff training, presentation and videos with a Q&A with the administrators and the Abington Police Department. The second half day would be the applied training scenarios, practice and drills with those debriefs with the administrators, the staff, and the Abington Police Department. And then we want to leave time for questions and answers. Because rightfully so, our staff are going to have a lot of thoughtful questions because they care deeply about the job that they're doing, and they're going to have to be doing this with us with all of our children. We want to make sure just prior to training our students that we do a parent night, that we go in, maybe we can do some YouTube videos on what this actually looks like with our parents. Give them, there'll be a repeat of some of this information, and then provide time for a question and answer time for our parents, and then do training again for all of our students during a school day before the close of the school year. I don't know when that parent evening would be, and I don't know when we would necessarily do that training with the students, but we're committed to getting those things done before the end of this year. What's most important for now, though, is to lock these days in and request you to consider that so that our families know how to plan around their busy work and family lives. So the significance of this is it empowers people with options and knowledge to create opportunities to save more lives. So, answer any questions people have?
Anyone have any questions on the ALICE program?
I got a couple of quick ones. One of them is more on like the program itself. I think the training. Will the teachers be trained in their own buildings? Okay.
Yes. We're working out exactly the length of time and which modules we're going to use, but we want people thinking about these things in their buildings. And then actually we're talking about trying to give them some time to spend in their own classrooms, just reflecting on their own classrooms.
Do they have to have both of the trainings, both professional days, before they were to train students?
Yeah, because we want them to run through the scenarios and actually drill them as a faculty before we drill them in any way with kids.
So this is just, I just noticed this now. So the second one's scheduled for June 11th.
Yep.
The last day of school right now is the 20th, I think.
Yep.
So that's like a week and a half. For the pre-K is 2 days. So just the timing of it, I don't know, I had a question on that. And the other one was more just the timing of the first half day, and I'm assuming there was thought put into it, but it's right after another half day.
The problem we ran into when we tried to plan these days was MCAS testing, to be quite honest with you. The MCAS testing pushed this back so far. That's why they fell there. So, I mean, tentatively speaking, we'd want to do the parent evening the 13th. I don't want to commit to that, though. That would follow right after the training. And we were talking about doing the student training in, the 14th to the 15th, the Thursday or Friday of that actual week.
That does leave the pre-K out, though.
Yeah. That would be with the pre-K. The teachers would know how to do it. They'd be going into kindergarten.
Yep.
We'd be,
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions? No. Yes. Could you give your name and where you're from, please?
Donna Peavy, Summer Street. Just curious of training the students at the end of the year, and then they're going to be on summer break.
Yep.
Would it be September would be better for them, or?
We thought about that, but what we were concerned with is once we go through this, it really creates a sense of need and urgency to, like, it convinces you this is what we should be doing. And then to wait and not at least do the initial training, we absolutely will be drilling these types of things every year. And because this is a universal training and something that, just like the fire drills, the sooner we begin this and get it started. Also, emotionally, this is, how do I say this, a bad time and place for America for these types of things. And having these conversations certainly seems to fit with what's going on. So for all of those reasons, we decided to do it before the close of the year. But we spent a lot of time. Actually, a month ago, I would have told you we were going to do it at the beginning of next year because of what you just said. But we're going to have to come back and do this annually, or refreshers annually with everybody. So.
Yeah.
Shannon Tenori, Wyman Road. How often do you do drills like the typical lockdowns? Twice a year?
So every year we do 2 drills. Whether it could be it could be a shelter in place where you're moving from one side of the building, and then a lockdown. It could be, but we do them twice a year.
This is just what you would do, like September, June, and then again next September.
Correct, and that's exactly. Thank you for raising that point. We try to do these drills in the beginning of the year and then toward the end of the year. And so some people, when I said we do these types of drills twice a year, they were like, "No, you haven't done it twice a year." And it's like, well, the year isn't over yet. We do spread them out, but we do try to do them the first round in the beginning of our school years.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. Any questions from the committee on the early release date?
No.
All right, then we're looking for a motion to approve the revised in-service early release date schedule for the 2017-2018 school year as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous, thank you. All right, report of the Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Personnel Services.
Good evening. Our 2 first will be motions to approve. So the first is requesting a motion to approve the 2018-19 school calendar.
All right, everyone has a calendar in front of them, and I believe we saw it at our last meeting as well. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the calendar that you have in front of you?
Tim, maybe Catherine Zane could have answered it better, but does the kindergarten orientation happening with grades 1 and 2 in session affect anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
I like thinking through this with you. What would it?
I don't know.
what do you
I mean,
think
I don't know. Excuse me. So grades 1 and 2 start school on
Right.
August 28th, and that's the same date as kindergarten orientation.
Right.
I don't remember. I remember. However, I just didn't know if it would be any.
Just cut back 2 days.
Yeah, the big concern we have with this is going to be transportation.
Okay.
Because what happens is, and I don't want to stop this practice, but everybody goes out and takes a picture of their kindergartners going in a bus, and it slows us down by, it's huge.
Yeah.
But how do you not do that?
No, I agree.
I did that with
Yeah.
my kids. Okay. That's the thing we're worried about.
Okay, I just know if building logistics, if there was going to be crossing over, first grade, second grade is trying to learn with kindergarten kids going through an orientation at the same time.
We should be okay
Yeah,
with
it
it.
should be
Yeah.
fine.
No,
And
it's
they
a good
actually
question.
don't start until the 29th.
No, but the orientation is the 28th.
Right.
It's just the same. So they'd be going through an orientation program while first and second grade are in session.
But we
I
do,
think in the past, they've done the orientation those 3 days,
Okay.
but they've cut back 2 days.
Okay.
So next year.
It was always a
it'll
different
just be
school
1
too
day.
until this year,
Yeah.
so.
Right, this was the first year.
Right, okay.
but no one had raised any concerns ahead of time, so.
No.
But no, that's a good question.
Do you have any other questions? No? Okay, then we are looking for a motion to approve the 2018-2019 school year school calendar as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Unanimous?
Great, thank you. The second motion is to approve the additional homeschool request for a student in our 7th grade. You have the information there. All paperwork has been filled out. We currently have 14 students. This would make our 15th for homeschool.
All right, so we'll be looking for a motion to approve the additional home education program for the 2017-2018 school year as recommended by Dr. Jim Thomas.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous.
Great, thank you. The next 4 items are informational. Congratulations to Laura Monachino, she's in our audience, and her team, because they are going to be moving forward in the National Association for the Education of Young Children Audit. So they are now in the process of portfolios are underway. And then they will also be having a site visit for 2 days during the month of May and June. And they will let us know regarding the consecutive days that they'll be coming out to review the 10 standards and the portfolios, et cetera. So well done, Laura.
Thank you.
Any questions on NIAC accreditation? Okay, great. The next is NEASC accreditation, and that's the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and that's at the high school level versus the preschool level. And that is also well underway, where we're uploading documents that are also moving forward in terms of the alignment with the standards. It's a 10-year cycle. It's very comprehensive in scope. And so that is moving forward, and we will be using our time for in-service time for working groups to work together and things of that sort. So that's what's going on with NEASC at the high school. And then I also want to say congratulations to the high school, because simultaneously they are one of 7 schools in Massachusetts who has been nominated for the National Blue Ribbon School. So not only are they also doing all the work that goes into the accreditation piece, but they're also doing the National Blue Ribbon Schools program, which is pretty comprehensive as well. So they've been working on that together, and I would like to say, thanks to everybody for doing that, because we have had an enormous amount of audits going on all year. It started last year. So a special thank you to Dr. Sullivan and Assistant Principal Laura Luco, and then we also have Christina Sweeney, who is in our guidance department, as well as Kim McHugh, our English teacher. So they've been doing a lot. And also we have Kim McHugh and Laura, who are leading the NEASC as well. So
if I could, Dr. Thomas, save me from mentioning that under informational items in your packet. You have an email from Terry. I was going to mention that to you at the end, just if you're looking for more information on it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to get to be one of the 7 schools in Massachusetts.
Yep.
It's a lot of, that's the most important thing. And then it's more work to apply to be nationally recognized, because again, you have to be invited into this opportunity. And so we were invited, and then for the opportunity for national recognition of this school.
yeah, and the nice thing is this is really about exemplary achievement gap of closing schools. So you're looking really at the whole piece regarding assessments and how students are doing, and looking at the gaps that we have and what we're doing in order to increase that. And so this is great, because we've gone from a variety of level 3 to level 2, level 1, and so it's really nice to have one of our schools be recognized that way. So any questions on that? No. All right, great. Coordinated program review. Again, this is a very comprehensive audit that you've heard me speak about since last year. They're finally here, and they're finishing tomorrow. We had our file review, so we've done all the uploads, which was very comprehensive, and that went throughout last year and all of this year. And then we had our file review, which was conducted on March 16th. We did have multiple cancellations due to all the storms, but they finally did come on March 16th, and we did have a lot of compliments, so kudos to our staff for really meeting in compliance, meeting the standards, but also compliant in all the areas of special education, because with state and federal mandates, it's a tremendous amount of work. So kudos to all of them for that. And this week, we've had over 30 people be individually interviewed by the Coordinated Program Review. That started yesterday, and it's going through tomorrow. And so I would just like to thank all of them for all of their hard work. It's important, focusing on the procedural pieces, but then the compliance piece is vital to productivity within our school system. So I'd like to thank everyone on that, and I'll let you know how it goes. The next steps are, they'll be meeting with us tomorrow. They'll have an exit interview with myself and the superintendent, and then they'll get back to us regarding any kind of concerns that they have, but we'll know tomorrow if they do have any concerns, and then basically it'll come in writing eventually. So the report usually takes anywhere, it depends. They told us it's as long as MCAS to get back to us, but in 6 years ago, it wasn't as long as that. So we're hoping that we get it back as soon as possible. Any questions on coordinated program review? No? Okay. And then last, the professional development update is just a lot of work is going on regarding all the audits that we have, but then in terms of also, we have a lot going on with our MCAS, and we have the next gen, so we're doing a lot of online training, and then also curriculum work. And again, the time that we have it might seem like a lot, because I know as parents we look at all the half days and you go, wow, that's a lot, but then when you're actually in there having to accomplish all the work that has to get done in 180 days, and you only have a limited amount of time to do that, we're using every ounce of energy and all time. And so during that time, there's a lot of focus on technology and curriculum and instruction and assessment, and then everything in terms of moving forward with the online MCAS piece. And also, that's basically our real focus areas. And again, I've already told you all about the NIAC, the work that's being done at the pre-K level. The coordinated program review is already completed, and then the NEASC, so that'll be until the remainder of this school year, and then there'll be more into the next school year. So it's a busy year, but it's a lot of great things that are going on. So any questions?
Thank you, Jay. Dr. Thomas.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Since Felicia has had to go home due to illness, Mr. Schaefer is going to take over her report of the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance.
So what you have in your packet is the capital plan that's submitted to the town every year. And so just so that people are aware, what we do for capital items is every town department submits those capital projects, and they all go on one big list that the town has. And so in previous years, you've seen these two items. A new roof for the Woodsdale School, and parking lot repairs at the Beaver Brook and the Woodsdale. In terms of priorities in the town, I know that these aren't going to be the #1 priorities for the town to tackle with the available money for capital. There are some years that we get important projects done. I'm guessing that these two projects won't be on that. They'll be on the plan, but I don't know that they'll be in the top of the list. Because although the roof at the Woodsdale is something we're concerned about, knock on wood, we've had a pretty tough winter, and it's going okay, it's going well, it's maintainable. Everyone knows what the parking lots at the Woodsdale and the Beaver Brook look like, and know that those are things that need to be addressed. But then when the town has to balance those against whether it needs to get another cruiser I can't tell you how many miles the police cruisers have, or the fire department needs a piece of important equipment, those items get further down the list. So we've reviewed these with our budget and finance subcommittee. I need us to continue to raise our hand with the town so that they know these are out there, so that when they do become more problematic, they go to the top of the list and they're not surprised by these things. They can be better planned for by our town. So I'd ask that we submit these two items to the town for the finance committee and for the town meeting.
Does anyone have any questions concerning those two items? All right, then we're looking for a motion to approve the Abington Public Schools FY19 capital plan as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. School building committee update?
The update is that the whirring in the HVAC system is making me crazy right now. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. And so people know that we are obviously early, because we're here in this building and we moved in a year early, and we're under budget. That continues to track that way. There are a number of punch list items that need to be done, need to be taken care of. You see that there's some drainage things that we're worried about around the building. We're addressing those things with improvements in the drainage system. There seems to be a leak out of the pre-K area. The bed there and the playground area there keeps weeping water. In that crosswalk area, we're afraid when that freezes, that's going to create a trip or fall. There are other areas that have that similar condition. And honestly, you know, the HVAC system is something in all buildings takes a long time to get figured out. Obviously, this is not appropriate for, especially in a library, to have this worrying go on. So there are little punch list items and things like that we need to address. Another thing that people should be aware of is that the building committee is looking at, well, you may see it tomorrow, a mock-up of a shade for the pre-K playground area, so that when the sun hits it between the hours of about 10 and 1 in the afternoon, the playground equipment actually can get so hot the kids can't use it. That's a mock-up that they'll be putting up in the coming days to make sure it's going to shade the areas, or at least enough area that we need to shade. If you look at some of the hallways that don't have the tile finish on them, our students are responsible, but they're high traffic areas, and you can see where the backpacks are rubbing against walls and things like that. And we're looking at paneling to cover those areas. That was those areas being paneled were originally value engineered out of the project so that we could get the good bid that we did. And now we think it's the responsible thing to put those back in, or some type of finish treatment back into that, so that it has some durability and saves operational costs down the road. Because again, our students aren't abusing those areas, they're just traveling. It's a high traffic area back and forth to class. And you can see where they're waiting or leaning on a wall, and the wall is showing those that wear. It's an ongoing process. The flooring, the linoleum flooring that you see with the designs, we're not satisfied with the work that was done there, and there's a good chance that a lot of that's going to be ripped up over the summer, so that we can replace it with what will be a better reflection of what this building, what the rest of this building looks like. It's you don't want to have such a beautiful building that we've put so much time and thought into, and then have the linoleum flooring detract from the rest of the building. There's a problem with how the gaps are coming together. I can tell you more about linoleum flooring and how the seams are welded than you want to know, but I can tell you what's happened is there are low points in there, and so that when they're washed, some of the dirt remains, and that builds up a residue, and that's what you see on the floor in that linoleum, in the linoleum area. Now when you walk out after the school committee meeting, everybody's going to be looking at the linoleum, and now you'll really see it. You may have not noticed it before, but we're on it. Little things like that are ongoing, and so I'll answer any questions people have. Okay.
Should we add to it that those are not going to force us over budget?
They're not going to force us over budget. They are the responsible things to maintain the building down the road and actually save operational costs.
Okay. New business and establishment of the next school committee meeting dates. We're scheduled for Tuesday, April 24th, 2018 for the monthly school committee meeting at 7 p.m. Monday, May 21st, 2018 prior to town meeting at 6:30. And Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018 regular monthly school committee meeting at 7 p.m.
Informational. So under informational, as I mentioned, as Dipna mentioned, there's that just an email from Terry that describes the National Blue Ribbon application process. Dates to remember: Wednesday, April 4th, we have an in-service early release day. On April 4th, we have a school building committee meeting here in the library, and then following that, we have a finance committee meeting at the town hall. So we'll be running from one to the other. Also, the Green Wave Booster meeting is here at 7 p.m. And on the 16th, we have Patriots Day. All school offices and buildings are closed. It's also the beginning of the spring vacation period through April 20th. On April 24th, we have our regularly scheduled school committee meeting at 7 p.m. On the 25th, we have the Day on the Hill This is where school committee members are invited to go into Boston with me, and we talk to our legislators about advocating for funding for schools and other items we might need. On the 28th, we have our annual town election here at Abington High School from 8 to 6 p.m.
All right, anyone have any questions, comments, otherwise? All right, then we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.